Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and we're having some great things happening in Arizona today, and not quite sure how the Department of Justice is doing this, but the Biden administration is being shown to be quite lunatic, authoritarian, and quite honestly a dictator, because apparently they also decided to take food away from kids if they don't go to their values, right? Not do the transgender thing and all that. Yeah, that's kind of the type of administration that we're going with. Well, now we have the Justice Department sues Arizona for law requiring voters to show proof of citizenship. It is the height of absurdity, said Arizona Attorney General Mark Bromwich. I'm also going to be showing you guys exactly what kind of, what the voter identification laws and what countries have them, which is a lot, by the way. So, yeah, I'm not quite sure what they're doing here, because a lot of other countries have this, and we don't. And then, quite honestly, the voter ID laws just make a lot of sense, honestly. If you just think about it, it just really makes a lot of sense. The Department of Justice is challenging an Arizona law that requires proof of citizenship as part of voter registration. Wow, that's just so bad. We just want to prove that you're actually an American. That's just terrible. Dear God. Those who cannot supply a document that proves citizenship cannot participate in the next election and will not be sent in a mail-in ballot. The law is set to take effect in 2023. On July 5th, the DOJ filed a request to block the law from being enforced and claimed the policy violates civil rights laws. It really does not. Because, by the way, if it blocks civil rights laws, then why do we have to have an ID to go to pretty much fucking anywhere? We need an ID to get onto a plane. We need an ID to buy alcohol. Like, we need an ID to have a car. Like, so by you stating this, you're automatically saying that having an ID to do any of these things is now a violation of civil rights laws. Yeah, no. House Bill 2492's onerous documentary proof of citizenship requirement for certain federal elections constitutes a textbook violation of the National Voter Registration Act, Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark of the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division said in a press release on July 5th. Arizona has passed a law that turns the clock back on progress by imposing unlawful unnecessary requirements that would block eligible voters from the registration rolls for certain federal actions. The Justice Department will continue to use every available tool to protect all Americans' right to vote and ensure that their voices are heard. Listen, the eligible voters, the eligible voters are the people that actually have an ID, so you can identify them. Like, hello? You're just wanting random people that just come into the country to just not have an ID. That's what you want. Even though we have to have an ID for literally everything else. This is the reason why the DOJ is honestly just completely authoritarian, just terrible, and the Biden administration needs to be gone immediately because they're actively destroying our rights and ruining things, by the way. Oh, by the way, I also have another story on what Biden is doing to our gas, which is, making everybody suffer, but we're going to continue on to that later. We're just going to finish in this article. The DOJ says that in 2013, during Arizona v. Inter-Tribal Council of Arizona, Incorporated, the Supreme Court prevented the state from mandating proof of citizenship documentation as part of federal voter registration. The United States complaint also contends that House Bill 2492 violates Section 101 of the Civil Rights Act by requiring election officials to reject voter registration forms based on errors or omissions that are not material to establishing a voter's eligibility to cast a ballot, the department added. The law, House Bill 2492, requires those registration to vote to have resided in Arizona for 29 days prior to an election, and that election officials verify their American citizenship as part of the registration process. It was passed by the state legislature earlier this year. What is the issue? The issue is making sure that citizens of this country are voting. If you're not a citizen of this country, you're not allowed to vote, said Senate Warren Peterson during the bill's consideration. Governor Doak just signed the bill into law at the end of March. In a letter explaining his support of the policy, Ducey said HB 2492 addresses a growing number of new registrants participating in elections who have not provided evidence of citizenship. By providing clarity to the Arizona law on how officials process federal form voter registration applications that lack evidence of citizenship, election integrity means counting on every lawful vote and prohibiting any attempt to illegally cast a vote. Yeah. What they're saying is they're pretty much making it to where there is no way to illegally vote. You can just vote any amount of times that you want, or just vote even though you're not part of the U.S. That's asinine. That means that a person that is from China can come into our country during voting time and just vote whatever he wants. That's asinine. Him not knowing the laws or anything, he can just come into our country and just vote whenever. Because he doesn't need to have an ID to vote. What? The governor said HB 2492 is a balanced approach that honors Arizona's history of making voting accessible without sacrificing security in our elections. Under federal law, it is illegal for non-U.S. citizens to take part in federal actions. The DOJ's lawsuit is being supported by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Arizona. We are proud to join the Civil Rights Division in bringing this lawsuit to ensure that all eligible citizens in Arizona have the opportunity to register and vote, and also has a fundamental right to participate in our elections. U.S. Attorney Gary M. Arstano for the District of Arizona. Arizona Attorney General Mark Bromwich called the lawsuit an example of the lawlessness of the Biden administration that is really going unchecked during the appearance on Fox's to Falcon Focus. The Biden administration is suing our state just because we have a requirement that if you want to vote in a presidential election or if you want to vote by mail, you have to show proof of citizenship, Bromwich said. And it is the height of absurdity that the Biden administration has incentivized and decriminalized people coming into this country illegally. And now they don't want Arizona to check for citizenship. You don't need to be a rocket scientist or even an astronaut to figure out what's going on here with the Biden administration. And I agree. Now, let's jump into the actual thing here. I understand, guys, Wikipedia is fucking garbage. I understand this. It is a terrible thing, but I'm just using this for, like, other examples. So, Argentina has this. For all citizens between 18 and 70 years old, non-compared for those older 70 and 16 and 18, citizens with domicile in foreign countries vote. They must present a valid document. I don't know how to speak in that language. Corresponding voting center. So, most countries in Latin America have similar policies. Again, in Australia, it has the same thing. No form of ID is required to cast a ballot in person at a polling location. Instead, voters are asked 3 questions before issuing a ballot, so they can be checked off the electoral roll. Name, residence, address, and have you voted before this election. On election day, if a person is voting by mail, they are required to include Australian driver's license or Australian passport number and the address they are currently enrolled under. To register to vote, Australians must fill out a form, provide identification, etc., etc., etc. So, of course, you're seeing, even still, they need an ID, a driver's license, which is a part of an ID. Brazil, being registered to vote, getting a voter ID called the electoral, in Brazil, presenting the voter ID when voting is optional. Okay, again, they need a voter ID. So look at all these countries. Australia, Brazil, Canada, France, Finland, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, India, Israel, Italy, Luxembourg, I never heard of that country, Mexico, Namibia, Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, Sweden, Switzerland, United Kingdom, have all needed voter IDs to actually vote. So, again, I'm not quite sure on what they're doing here. So, what we do know, they want to have the illegals that come into this country vote to vote for them because that's why they need the votes. Because normal American citizens don't vote for these lunatics. Not all of them do. So they need these extra influx of people to vote for them so they can get in power, right? Well, guess what? That's the reason why they're going after voter laws. Because they don't want people to have voter IDs. There is nothing racist or discriminatory about having people needing to have a voter ID. We need an ID for fucking anything that we do in this country. So having an ID for identification to prove that you're an actual legitimate U.S. citizen is not a problem. Even when you talk to other black people, they think that they need an ID for fucking anything else. So, this is the reason why I hate this actual government and why I hate the Biden administration. Really acting like a dictator right now. Really acting like a dictator. Alright guys, that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share, and let's remove Biden from office, shall we? Let's impeach him.